The next one this is kind of flying on the under the radar, but I think I called this a long time ago, so I'm just gonna give myself some credit here. I did a Guild Wars 2 video a long time ago in relation to Dragonflight and how WoW is just swooping in, no pun intended, to steal dragon riding, to steal all these quality of life things.
Yeah.
And there's a little data mining thing that came out recently, and it was something like a code name of dynamic ground mounts. So Guild Wars, as you know, has like 5 different mounts, all with unique abilities. They have the Raptor that can jump over canyons. They have the Bunny, the Springer mount that can go super high over, get to high places. And so anyway, a whole range. And so I think a lot of the Guild Wars fans were like, oh, they're still in dragon riding. They're really mad about it. I was like, hey, if it makes it better, it makes it better. So, and dragon riding is awesome. I love it in WoW.
Yeah.
And my take was like, well, they might as well just go all the way, right? They might as well take it all and just.
Yeah.
And me and Scott have talked about this a lot. I mean, what do you do most of the time in MMOs anyway? You're on your mount, you're traversing. And so why not make it a fun, and these are Scott's words exactly, make it like a fun mini game while you're traveling, at least make it interesting. And so to me, I think this is what they're doing, and I'm kind of all for it. And I think it will make it, and this is a problem in WoW too, right? You just fly everywhere because it's just more optimal, but if you can make a way to be on the ground and on mounts fun, I think that could bring people back to wanting to traverse. Absolutely. I don't know. Did this surprise? I mean, I know none of you guys really play Guild Wars 2, but what are the prospects of these types of mounts in WoW? I don't know. Take off. What do you guys think?
I mean, that's the one thing that I loved about Guild Wars 2 was when we first got that mount, Tom, I know you and I were going back home. You're like, oh, yeah, you can make that jump. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Okay. And then you showed me all your other mounts. And I was like, you have like a hovercraft looking mount and all these different variations that weren't just aesthetic. They were actually functional, So it wasn't just like, oh, okay, yeah, I have this really cool looking, skin. It was, no, this is actually for me to get across this cavern or, or this chasm, or this is for very specific jumping patterns that I need to do. And I thought that was really neat. And then I got to experience it with my own mount, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, so mine has like a springing effect to get to that next ledge. And I was like, that's cool, because there was always something. And that's the one thing that Guild Wars was always interesting about. There's always something around the corner, that you could discover accidentally, and that kind of discovery is kind of lacking. WoW has some of that with like the giant treasure chests, which are always cool. But like there was something different about Guild Wars that had that. And it always was because the experience of the traversal factor, it was different. And I think that's where it became neat. It's like, oh, you have this bunny looking type of mounts, and you can get up to that cliff that's been, that's way out of reach.
Yeah.
Not out of reach now, So yeah, I think that'd be neat. I really liked it. I definitely like that.
It's really about immersion when it comes to MMOs, and anything that can deliver an immersive experience, no matter what you're doing. Any activity can feel purposeful and engaging. That, I mean, that's just another box check of making the perfect MMO. So, I mean, even as something as mundane as mining or picking flowers, as long as it looks cool and feels purposeful, you're going to do it. So, bringing the ground mounts back and making them something unique and fun while doing world quests. I mean, that's part of what I love about WoW, is that in between battlegrounds or whatever it is you're doing, waiting, you can go out in the world and just do world quests and get rep and beat up some mobs. And it just makes you get out in the world and enjoy it. You're not just jumping on a mailbox waiting for a battleground to pop, even though I know that's Tom's favorite thing in the world to do.
Yes.
But yeah, anything that just brings more immersion to the game while you're playing it.
And you other guys who have played WoW, when you heard about Dragonflight, was it something that always seemed cool? Or was it when you finally got your hands on it, you're like, okay, I understand what the Guild Wars 2 people are always like hyping their own game about, and none of us WoW people care because we all know WoW's better. But you were like, yes, steal this. And what are your thoughts now if they can bring in more of that stuff to WoW?
Yeah, I would say for me, Tom, I was not excited about Dragonriding at all. When they announced it, it was like, oh, and the big feature Dragonriding. I was like, all right. And then all the Guild Wars players were like, oh, they're stealing our flying mounts. And I've never really done a flying mount in Guild Wars. I've done the traversal, the ground. It's been awesome. But I was not excited until I did it. And it's exactly what you said. When I first got on that dragon and you're flying through the rings and they're doing the training and the How to Train Your Dragon music comes up, it's essentially what it is. It's this big soaring orchestra rah, 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 as you're like flying through these rings. I was instantly hooked. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm flying a dragon. Like, and it's all like, I was blown away. So now I'm obsessed with Dragonriding. I love Dragonriding. They're bringing it to the old world, which is great. If they're going to now bring traversal mounts, like ground things, I totally agree with Scott. It's about immersion. But I would also say, to add on to that, it's about speed. I think if you're going to add this to ground mounts, you got to get a reason for players to choose a ground mount over a flying mount, especially if they're bringing Dragonriding to the old world. So that's awesome. Just like in Guild Wars 2, there's that one mount you've got where it's like a big ball, like it's like a circular ball, and you
roller beetle.
Yeah, roller beetle. You zoom on that
it
thing.
drifts, and you can drift it basically.
Yes, and it goes so fast.
Oh, that's cool.
And so you can bust through walls. It's amazing.
That's insane. Like that's insane. So if there's more speed with like a roller beetle type of mount than a flying mount, that's going to add that layer of fun. You know what I mean? Where you can really zoom across, and then you can jump and move and break through stuff if possible. That'd be awesome. But I think that'll get players to try it, to do it, because if their flying mount is going to be slower than a roller beetle, then they're going to do roller beetle.
I don't know. All I know is one night we were playing, and I was like, James, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm flying. I'm getting some glyphs. And I was like, okay. Like 30 minutes later, James, what are you up to? I'm just flying. Just like flying through these trees in the Emerald Dream, I'm just soaring. And so all night, James was just flying around James. How good is Dragonriding?
Got nothing done.
It's awesome, right?
Dragonfly in the sky. It is a cool feature to the game, and I think they're going to do something with ground mounts. That's why they're doing this whole Blitz PvP thing. I would rather do PvP with the Blitz, where you're running 150% speed on those mounts. And it makes a huge difference in battlegrounds. Like some of the battlegrounds are so vast, you're just like, dude, I want to get across the map so I can help stop whatever flag is being capped. And I feel like that 50% increase was such a huge difference in PvP. But when it comes to like Dragonflying, like, yeah, it's incredible. Like they have that new mount that gets, if you pre-order, it comes like with a different ability than the one that knocks people off their mounts. It's one that where you stay close to a mountain and it builds up static charge, and after 10 charges, you take off at 800% for 5 seconds, and it's pretty cool. Awesome. I think they just do more stuff with it in the future as far as bringing things to the ground where you can net like another rider and pull them down to the ground with you or something, or shoot someone's wing and then they have to like slowly glide to the ground. You follow them and you just kill them. Because that's what you do. You have fun in PvP, and they have to bring that element into it, and then you can get to that dynamic mount ground type thing. But I think they just have to have a good mix to where it feels great flying, it feels great on the ground. How do we get players out of the sky and onto the ground?
Yeah, and it's interesting because some mounts you can't do, like there's like these horse mounts. You can't obviously have flying with a horse mount. So maybe they'll have things like what James is talking about. Maybe there will be like a sprint. Like, a buff that you can do. So you'll go 150% speed, on these ground mounts only. Maybe that's what it would be. It would just be like a little dash or like a little something to give it a little extra juice.
Just having an ability like a dash or something wouldn't be unique enough. I think what makes the mounts in Guild Wars 2 isn't just what they do. That's a bonus, but it's how they feel in your hands.
Inertia.
Yes.
Even New World was amazing.
Like the mount, it was pretty good actually. Yeah, for as basic as it was, it nailed that part down. And that's what makes a mount fun.
The breathing, like you just like, oh dude, I'm riding this horse, and it's like, you're like, oh crap.
But here's why it's great, and you guys were kind of alluding to it in a way. So every mount in Guild Wars has a special ability. A leap across a canyon. There's a wolf mount that will dash, and it can go through these sand portals and portal you to another area, but only that mount can. Of course, the Springer goes high. There's a water mount that can skim on the water or go fast under the water, so you can submerge. And of course, they have the different flying mounts. But this is why it's great. And Dragonflight, they did this a little bit. The zones are created around the mounts, right? Dragonflight is wide, expansive. So in Guild Wars also, they have maps that, hey, this area of the map is catered to the Springer. You need to jump high. And the way they get around it is in those areas, it's almost like a jumping puzzle. They disable flying mounts. So you can't actually mount up on your flying mount. You need these other mounts to access areas. Like if you want to get a certain glyph that could unlock a certain thing, you need to be on your Springer mount to get there. And so it just creates like Chase was saying, a whole new level of exploration that you can do in the game in an immersion by using these certain mounts that can only access certain areas. I don't know. I think it's brilliant. I think it's one of the best features of Guild Wars 2. And so I was actually excited when I saw this kind of leak or data mining, whatever it is. And so I think if they don't go down this road, it's a mistake. So they just should. And it's awesome.